Hello, it's good to have you join us again for a fresh edition of your program. This is Close Flow coming to you from NTA2 Lagos Network Center. We know you are there waiting patiently for us to show to you who the distinguished Nigerians we are going to be, as it were, borrowing their brains will be for this edition of the show. What is trending in Nigeria right now is the fact that we are approaching a transition. We'll need to now elect new officials to manage the affairs of this country. So how do we go about doing that? Are we fully prepared to handle this and handle it fairly, handle it equitably, handle it safely? Are we sure that as citizens, we are also ready to play our own part? Well, we have two Nigerians who are here with us, one here with me live, and the next person to be zoomed. Just stay with us and you get to meet these distinguished Nigerians.
Experience unlimited super-fast internet access from Entel 4G. Entel. Live more. Hey beautiful, your eyes, your smile are all begging me to take you home tonight.
Now reading page 3.
Experience unlimited super-fast internet access from Entel 4G. Entel. Live more.
there you have it. And that is what the package is going to look like for today. We have a Dr. Emmah Gospel Isong in transit across Nigeria at the moment because of the forthcoming election, but he has stopped somewhere so that he can be a part of this conversation. That's how critical this particular conversation is all about. And right with us here in the studio, we have Barrister Boma Alabi, a senior advocate of Nigeria and also an officer of the Order of the Niger. You're welcome to Close Flow.
Thank you very much.
Now, incidentally, both of our guests are more or less family members of NTA in the sense that once we need a critical discussion, two of them have always volunteered to stake their opinion, their expertise on the table. So, Boma, you're welcome. Now, we know that 4 days to go, or thereabouts, a couple of hours, Nigerians are required to be on the street, to be in the neighborhood, to be taking certain critical decisions. Boma, how do you anticipate this public duty? What do you see? What is on the dashboard?
Well, I'm glad you used the word duty. It is our duty as citizens, once you're qualified over the age of 18, to vote and be part of making a decision as to who runs our country. If you don't already have a PVC, that's a bit late now, but prepare yourself for the next time. And for those of us who have PVCs, it is our civic duty to come out and vote. And you need to start now to know exactly where you're going to be voting. The information is out there. You should know your polling booth so that you go to the right polling booth. Because if you go to the wrong one, then you can't participate. And you also have to remember the timing. It's from 8 o'clock in the morning to 2:30 p.m. If you're on the queue at 2:30, you can vote. But if you're not there after 2:30,
you cannot vote.
Yes, you've disenfranchised yourself.
Okay, let's get Bishop. Bishop, can you add to that, to what Boma has said? Are we simply living on hypes and misinformation, or do we have the right orientation about what we need to do on this voting? Bishop?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. The atmosphere is right for Nigerians to again exercise their franchise, as the first guest has categorically mentioned. But let me divert a little bit from that point to the point that this is going to be a little bit different of elections, because Nigerians should know that in democracy, the government does not depend on the few politicians that parade themselves on social media and on the mainstream media. The government now is upon the shoulders of those millions of Nigerians who have been empowered with their PVC. And they must exercise this franchise void of all kinds of biases and prejudices. It is time now for Nigeria to stop revolution and enter election. Many Nigerians don't know that election is a big, peaceful, better option than revolution. And so the burning of houses and killings and protests should be substituted by this very legal and internationally practiced means of changing government or choosing government. So as the National Publicity Secretary of the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, I do hereby call on all Christians, even within the Christian Association of Nigeria, to dust their PVC, even as the first speaker have said, and have this as a very major God-given opportunity to have their voices heard, obey the rules of the game, and vote properly and vote according to your conscience.
Okay, great. I like the closing remarks there. Vote according to your conscience. But Barrister, or my son, let me correct myself. My son, are we sure that we can actually get a conscience? Because the trending expose right now that we are dealing with, we are saying there's some level of malpractices, vote buying, vote selling, this and that, because people are impoverished. Therefore, so where is the conscience? The man wants to eat, and the PVC is probably the only ATM card that he has.
Well, that's where it's a shame. If you sell your vote, you sell your PVC for 4,000, 5,000, 10,000, even if it's 50,000 naira. That's it. For the next 4 years, you'll have to live with whatever the outcome is. So your PVC is your franchise, your right to freedom. Until the
Your right to freedom
and accountability. Until the citizen comes to the table, this democracy will not work. We have the right to vote in our leaders, not rulers. Leaders, not monarchs. Once you exercise that franchise, then they understand they're accountable to you, the citizen. If you sell your PVC, then you become a slave. For the next 4 years, for sure, anybody who wants to buy your PVC does not want you to vote and does not want you to be a citizen of a country. They want to rule over you. They want to enslave you. Do not sell your PVC to anybody, no matter the amount, even if they give you 1 million naira. It's your money, by the way, because they're going to get it back when they get in there.
Wow.
So keep your PVC, vote your conscience, whatever you listen to them. You see their track record. Decide who is going to be best for me, for my children, for my future, for the next 4 years and beyond. And then make that vote on that basis. That's all I'll say to you. Otherwise, on your head be it, whatever you end up with, so be it.
Wow, Bishop, both of you seem to be in some kind of a congress, because what she's saying, what you are saying, is resonating. So how are you going to respond to that? Some of the key elements of the electoral process or processes already have been digitized by INEC. She just said for us, you should know your vote, where you're supposed to vote, your polling booth. If you go to the wrong polling booth, you have missed it. But if you go to INEC's site, you can actually get all the information that you need on where to go. Now, so Bishop, she's saying don't sell. What do you say to that?
Yeah, let me add my voice again on this very important interview. I hope you know that your interview is not only to inform Nigerians, it's to prepare them. Let me say the few things that will make this election very different from other elections. And this will come as a very rude shocker to many politicians. And I want many politicians to get ready to lose the election or win the election. Because some of them don't really know what is going to befall them. And so they better get ready. And by this response, I'm saying that number one, the machine, the BVA machine, is going to be very big introduction and a pivotal to this election. Number two, like I said, Nigerians have been very hungry and angry and now ready to go. I think we are on one page, all of us are on one page, except the recalcitrant, except the mediocres, except the compromisers. And number three, the new electoral law, my senior advocate will enlighten us, has changed a lot of narrative concerning electioneering processes. So I do know our politicians are not just contesting these elections. They have taken to cognizance those loopholes that have been tightened by the new electoral laws. It's no more going to be business as usual. And like I said, politicians should please, I beg them in the name of God, get ready to lose these elections and to win. Because the tables truly are going to turn. I don't even think Nigerians are voting political parties again. I think they are going to vote people of their choices who will impact, like the last speaker said, the next 4 years of their life. For instance, I've traveled around 52 countries in 5 continents in the past 30 years, and I want to confess to you, I would not want to stay in any of those countries. Exactly. I want to stay in Nigeria. And the only thing that can encourage me and my family to stay back in Nigeria as I'm staying is to have a peaceful economy thriving, anti-corrupt leaders, people who have the functionality and workability of effective governance. I don't want to stay in any of these other countries. Nigeria continues to be my home, and that is under the backdrop that this country continues to have leaders, like the last speaker said, not rulers, that would recognize us, that would care for us. This country is blessed with human, material resources. We are blessed. We have everything. I don't want to mention them here. Everything from human resources to mineral resources to everything.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, my bishop. Let's get the son to give us the picture, the profile, because of the new electoral law. So, what are the things that voters should look out for to their own advantage?
Fantastic. So the new Electoral Act is actually a huge improvement on the previous one. And if we know and understand what we can do, we can make sure that our votes count and there's no rigging, and the results and outcome at your polling booth is properly delivered. As a voter, you are entitled to stay behind and monitor from a safe distance.
Yes.
So don't crowd the polling booth, but stay behind and monitor. Number one. So don't just exercise your civic right and duty to vote. Stay behind and monitor. At the end of the voting exercise, the PO, that's the presiding officer,
Yes.
will announce, they will count loudly, openly at that polling booth. For each of the parties, this is the outcome. They will fill it in a form,
Yes.
EC8A. After that, they will put it on another form,
Yes.
which we call the people's results. That form will be pasted on your polling booth. There's no taking it elsewhere to collate anymore. That was what used to happen in the past, not under this act. So your result will be there, declared there, and pasted there on your polling booth. So you wait and see. Please count the number of people that are entitled to vote in your polling booth.
Yes.
If it's 700, if the result says 703, let them recount it. Because 703 will mean that all your votes did not count in that polling booth.
Wow.
Any overvoting nullifies
That booth.
that booth. So don't allow the numbers declared to exceed the number, because they paste the number of voters, your names will be there. If you declare 703 and we were 700, okay, where did the 3 come from? Please be aware. Make sure your vote counts. Spend that day to go and drink water and come back. If we have to fast for one day, I don't think it's too much for us Nigerians. What we're suffering right now, sitting in queues for fuel, sitting in queues for money
Naira.
that belongs to you.
Yes.
What does it take to sacrifice one day to
Fast,
ensure
fast.
that your vote counts? So please, this new Electoral Act has taken into cognizance all of those issues that used to happen in the past. And if we follow it and do what we are supposed to do as citizens, our vote will count and the outcome will be what we desire.
Okay, all right. That's encouraging. That's very positive, and I think that is again highlighting what Bishop says. But Nigerians already have this mental thinking or position or perspective that okay, there is no way elections in Nigeria are going to be free, they are going to be fair, and they're going to be so. Bishop, do we need prayers to change that mindset, or how do we correct that?
I want you to know that prayer is needed every time in our lives, but let's be pragmatic here. We are asking every man of faith, whether you are Muslim or Christian, to please, like the last speaker said, sacrifice, pay the price of defending your vote. But let me say this, this election is all of us is our business. Don't let politicians intimidate you on your choice of candidate. And I want Nigerians to know, like I said earlier, it is not, no need again crying over spilled milk. What has happened to us has happened to everybody. For instance, somebody talked about going to queue for your money. Whether you're a Muslim or a Christian, it happens to you. There is no market that is kept for only politicians. At the end, we all go to the same market. We all pass through the same road. We all go through the same kind of challenges, national challenges. So election period is opportunity, another chance by God to answer that prayer you have been praying. So you pray. In the Bible, you see this happen. Jesus turned water to wine, but told them to go and draw it out themselves and drink. You see that again in John chapter 11. He commanded Lazarus to resurrect, but told them to roll away the stone. So you roll away the stone, he will raise the Lazarus. You fill the water pots with water, he turns into wine, you draw it. All miracles in the Bible people pray for has 99% of God, but 1% of man, which is our own participatory contribution. So of all the prayers we prayed over the years, God is going to only answer them when we respond to our own obligation and civil responsibility, which in this case include going out on Saturday to exercise our franchise, like our senior advocate said, he's given us the time and the rules of engagement. We just have to practicalize that prayer to manifest by responding to this very simple civic responsibility.
Well, brilliant again, Bishop, I must say, but we need a miracle here, because now we are looking at 93.5 million Nigerians who are going to be voting this time around across the 774 local governments in the country. Now, are we not anticipating some kind of a little bit of dislocation because of this currency change, this question of, because how about the logistics for electoral officers, electoral materials, and all that? How are we going to make a little bit of a departure so that those agencies can get access to fund, or how is this going to translate into the effective voting?
Well, the logistics INEC is working on, no doubt about it. Currency shortages across the board, but we are adapting. I am aware that buses are taking transfers.
Yes,
naira.
now, yes.
300 naira.
The resilient Nigerians.
Yes, buy fruits. My fruit seller, okay, transfer. I transfer to him. So we are 4 or 5 days to election. Let us just grit our teeth, bear the situation. Civil unrest is not the answer. Civil unrest is playing into the hands of those who still want to keep us in captivity. Civil unrest is playing into the hands of interim government. If we don't come out on the streets and burn our own banks, our own homes, our own hospitals, our own police stations,
There won't be any interim
there
government.
won't be any interim government. So let us be calm. Saturday, we'll go and vote. After that, if all of us come out, all of us that have PVCs, 90-something million Nigerians.
97.3.
Because so many have PVCs and they don't engage. But if we all come out, let's have a high turnout of voters. That's not been happening in the past, because the voters did not trust the system. I'm saying to you now that this new act gives us a workable system, an almost fail-safe system, and if we come out and participate, then our votes will surely count. So care about your country, care about your future. The what do you call it? Solution is not a japa, whatever you call it, leaving Nigeria to go somewhere else.
The
That
Japanomics.
place, the citizens they have built, God did not put you here by accident in this geographical location. We are Nigerians. The people who, it's over 100 years since this country was created. So everybody alive today is a Nigerian. So for goodness sake, come out, vote, if you have a PVC, 90-something million Nigerians, come out there and vote.
Okay.
Stay and protect your vote. Wait for the count. And see the result pasted on your polling booth. And then we will have the outcome we desire. Because whatever our majority decision is what will prevail. And there'll be peace. So bear these last few days, please. We're all suffering through this situation. But we've suffered it for how many weeks now? We might as well
for the next few days.
For the next few days. Civil unrest is not the solution. It is playing into the hands of the rulers, the monarchs, the kings who want to continue to enslave us, kings and queens. We don't want that to continue. We want to be citizens with rights in a country where they are accountable. They are servants to us, elected by us, to serve, not to rule.
Okay, well, Nigerians, you're going to be part of the conversation when we take a break. You can call us so you can actually query the senior advocate of Nigeria for what she has said to you there, that they are your servants, the politicians are your servants, they are there to serve you and not to rule you. But if you allow it, they will rule you. That's what she's saying. But Bishop, quite honestly, the CVR, that is the continuous voters registration, has pulled in a huge number of Gen Z and Gen Y, that is the younger generation of Nigerians. Now, if all of them, like the senior advocate has actually, canvassed now, all of them can troop to the polling booths and vote, do you see a possible transition that would translate into a change in some kind of paradigm change in leadership structure in Nigeria? Are we still going to be seeing a recycling, of septuagenarians, or are we going to be looking at the new Gen Z now coming effectively into governance? What do you think, Bishop?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Let me analyze. I'm not a forecaster, but I can analyze the voting coming. Please note the following. Note that, number one, people who were not 18 years 4 to 8 years ago are now 18 years. Note that. So you are talking of a new crop of voters. Please, number two, note that those who didn't have PVC, I can confirm this, rushed and got their PVC. So there's a surge
12 million
in the number of voters.
12 million.
Please note, number three, that the social media have influenced Nigeria. That means ruling government can no more control news, can no more censor news. So you do something today, in 5 seconds, it filters through the internet, whether it's false news or true news, everybody hears. So note that very well. And number three, note, Nigerians used to change government by only changing political parties control government. That means, let's say, from PDP to APC. Now Nigerians are not interested in just changing government party to party. They want to change generation. They want to change the crop of their leadership. So please, if you have noted these 4 points and you put them together in a box and mix them, you don't need to be a rocket scientist.
Or a prophet.
You should know that something is smelling. Something is smelling. And that is why there have been rumors of interim government, there have been rumors of this and that, because even the politicians know what I'm telling you now, that something is smelling around the corner.
All right. We're going to take a short break. By the time we come back, we'll give you the telephone lines, dedicated telephone lines, because this conversation, just like the senior advocate of Nigeria has emphasized, it's about you and your future. It's either you remain enslaved or you remain the king and the queen. You become who actually should control what governance is all about. So stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
we must dilate their eyes, we look for if they have cataract, look at the back of their eyes, they have glaucoma, you know, to do a full workup for them.
You remember government should actually open their eyes,
going to be looking deeper than we ever looked in before to ensure that we close all the loopholes.
It manifests as physical support. And
every edition is an arresting conversation with distinguished Nigerians from various strata of the society, bearing their minds on how we can realize the Nigeria of our dreams. Join us live on Close Flow, Monday every week here on NTA2 Lagos Network Center. Close Flow. The conversation is about you.
Okay, so we'd like to say it again. The conversation is about you. And the Senior Advocate of Nigeria already has invited you to know that you have to take up responsibility. It's not just about speaking up, and it's not about crisis. The idea of burning down houses or locations will not help your case. As a matter of fact, she says you are playing into the hands of those who are actually misruling the way the country is. Now, okay, the numbers to call quickly. Let's have you so they can join this conversation with our two distinguished Nigerians. We have on WhatsApp quickly 08020384130, 08020384130 on WhatsApp, or send us an SMS 08063508434, 08063508434. The Senior Advocate of Nigeria is waiting patiently so that she can guide you on the things you need to do to make sure that your vote actually counts. Now, San, another practical issue will be the question of policing. Nigerians are of the opinion that we may not have effective policing of the election. Why? Because if you look at the ratios, you have one policeman to 540 Nigerians. Now, in a tense environment, a tense, situation where people are voting and votes are being counted and all that, how can we now say that this number of policing will be able to keep public peace and order?
Well, again, how does the tense situation arise? It arises from us, the citizens.
How does a tense situation
arise? That is how
it
arises. But if we
remain
calm, it's our behavior. So yes. So in some areas, you may have thugs who are incited by politicians coming to try and disrupt what we're doing. But we are more than them.
We are more than the thugs.
We are more than them. So we will assist the police to police. Is it? Citizens have rights. And those thugs are known to us. They're usually from within our community.
Yes.
So we'll assist the police to police and ensure that we can vote. Those individuals, the Nigerian Bar Association will be setting up a situation room.
Okay.
Lawyers will be manning those
situation rooms.
Yes. So that will be, I'm sure our president will make announcements in the course of the week to that effect. Political parties are also setting up situation rooms. What do you call them? These civil society organizations.
Yes, election monitoring groups
are all there. So pay attention to where these things are and the contact numbers that it puts out, so that if you have any such displays in your area where the thugs come out, find safety so that they don't hurt you.
Yes.
Report so that they can deal with it. Those that can move around, I'll be an observer on the day for the Nigerian Bar Association. We'll also be moving around and reporting those issues as we see it. The police will be moving around. They will not be just in one
location.
No, they'll not be in one location. And if need be, other agencies will assist them. One thing I'm certain of is the government of Nigeria is not going to use our security agencies against us. It has happened in the past.
Yes.
It's not going to happen on
This time
around. So they will be working with us, the citizens, to ensure that there's peace and we can vote without
any harassment.
Yes.
Okay, all right, Bishop, we'll need you to come in and look at this because there are some people are saying that there are some hotspots of mass gathering. Lagos, for instance, we have over 7 million voters. In Kano, we are looking at almost 6 million. In Kaduna, we are looking at nearly 5 million. Now, these are some of the hot spots that people are pointing fingers at and saying, so what do we do? Do you think what the Senior Advocate of Nigeria has itemized here, would these things help us to actually protect and be sure that the elections or the processes are free and they are fair and they are secured? Do you think it's possible?
Well, thank you. Let me help Nigerians here in terms of security. Security should be an architecture. That what architecture means, you could design it to fit an occasion. Now, what Nigerian policymakers don't know is that when it comes to election period, you must redesign the security architecture. Security is like the clothes you are wearing now. You can use it for any other style of dress. Now, you and I know constitutionally that the governors of different states are the chief security officers of their states. That's where security begins, as much as from the unit to the local government and to the state. I don't want to indict the chief executive of each state, but I want you to know, put it on record, that any state you have flashes of violence or flashes of any security challenge, the chief executive officer of that state should be held responsible. They constantly interface with the heads and of different security units, police, army, navy, civil defense, and I hope you know that most all these governors control millions, if not billions of naira, allocated as what?
Security
votes. These security votes are the most abused sources of income at state level. Governors should be held accountable of the use of this security vote. And I want you to know that most governors use this security vote to empower their thugs, instigate violence in their enemies' camp, and of course, sponsor the miscreants and the gunmen. I don't want to mention Imo State. I don't want to mention some other state. Every governor of a state knows the reason and the season and understands the movement. Now, let me say this. The police, our police should be trained for election purposes. Simply deploying hundreds of policemen to a locality to monitor election is not sufficient for me. INEC, the information department of INEC, including the public relations officers of the police, must retrain our security men towards handling election matters. Because election matters security is different from just sending them to guard the bank. It is this lack of orientation and reorientation and education that makes the police to become tools and instruments in the hands of these politicians. Now, what you notice now is that the Inspector General of Police is going to give some instructions that all SPUs, special protection units, and all other should be removed from these DIs. But these policemen are human beings. I hope you know they have relations, they have friends and cronies. And before the election, even if you cross-transfer the commissioners of police, they quickly align with the governors and the politicians in their state. Many waters pass under the bridge, including the changing of money and agreements and payments and promises of appointment. So as we talk
My Eminence, 1 second please. We have a Nigerian who wants to ask 1 or 2 questions. So quickly, Tony from Makoko says, what if the Beaver's machine malfunctions, that is the INEC portal, one of the INEC portals, what will happen to the voting process in the polling unit, in that particular polling unit? Is there an option of a manual interaction between the voters and that polling? You want to help us?
Oh, yes, of course. Toyin, the answer is quite simple. If the BVAS machine fails, then the PO will escalate. And if in that period that is permitted, that's between 8:30 to 2:30,
yes,
it still doesn't
come up.
There's no option of manual voting. They can come back the next day. They will notify the voters at that polling booth and return the next day. That's what the
law says.
Provides for.
Okay.
Currently. So manual is not an option. Most of these machines, I know from our interaction with INEC, that there's backups and backups and backups. Remember, this machine is not relying on the internet in order for you to cast your vote.
Yes.
It is only when they're transmitting that they require the internet. And we have more than sufficient. We had initially, I think, about 60,000 polling booths have been reduced from the numbers currently. So provision was made for even more than that. But if it fails, manual is not an option. So if anyone is doing anything manual in your polling booth, know that your vote counts.
Yes, it is illegal.
Don't allow them. It has to be with BVAS. Manual is not an option.
Thank you, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Good for you to be here with us. Otherwise, many of us wouldn't have known this truth. Now, that is said, Toyin, I'm sure you got that right. God's will from Abia State. What happens if the voters who need to be accredited for election is either handicapped, that is either blind or crippled and all that? How will he or she be accepted? How will she be able to get to the point and get accredited for voting? San, would you want to answer that? Yes?
Yes, of course. I mean, already your biometrics has been captured. Yes? Because you have a PVC. You've been through the process where your biometrics has been captured, one way or the other. Otherwise, you would not be allowed to vote because you're only coming to vote with your PVC. And the Act provides for voters with disabilities.
Yes.
And whatever the physical disability is, they will assist you to cast your vote, one way or the other. But your priority amongst the voters, if you have any physical disability, if you're a pregnant or nursing mother,
yes,
or if you're elderly,
yes,
it's provided for, and they will give you whatever assistance you require and prioritize you before us who are
able,
yes,
are physically fit. Okay, so I hope that answers that question. Now, Bishop, would you want to add anything to what our senior advocate has said?
Yeah, of course, quite perfectly, you should not allow your disability to disenfranchise. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Bishop. Now, we say we have the Freedom of Information Act, which should enable Nigerians, anywhere they are, to seek or secure or require certain updates on what is happening. Is INEC also under that rule?
Of course, INEC is under that rule, because the Freedom of Information Act is clear. Any institution or organization that is publicly funded,
yes,
or in some way receives funds from government, we are entitled to ask them questions and they must answer us within 30 days.
Wow.
INEC is included.
Wow.
It has gone as far as a private company that supplied cars to the government.
Yes.
Procurement bid. The courts have said even that company has to answer questions on what they did with that money.
Wow.
So INEC is not excluded. INEC is publicly funded. It's an agency of our government. They are accountable to us. They're spending taxpayers' money. They're accountable to you and I as citizens.
Okay, great. Now let's move on to the next thing, because we have election management monitoring bodies. That's even United Nations believes that we should use them because they can create some kind of changes that we want. So let me go straight to Bishop. Bishop, how about the democratic peaceful resolutions of conflicting political interests? The way that your own UN experiences must have exposed to you. Do you think the political arrangement in Nigeria or the election monitoring groups in Nigeria, are they in any way trained to see how elections can be used to actually create some kind of resolutions of either conflicting issues or political interests?
We have different kinds of election monitoring units. But I think, quite frankly, decision makers always depend only on government, always respect only foreign electoral monitoring units. I don't know why that is. In all African countries that have experienced elections, especially presidential elections, it's only the voices and the opinions of foreign monitoring units that have been promoted. But let's talk about also the democratic composition of these electoral bodies. And let me say this, I know you'll be shocked. Are you aware that many electoral monitoring units have been influenced by politicians, including their acceptability, their registration, and their access to information, their ability to cover the elections? I don't know, maybe the senior will tell us. I don't know if they are also their input, if there is any input from their observation that influences election being ratified or being justified as being free and fair. I know that they are opinion leaders in that matter. But what I want to say about election monitoring units is that the locals, the local bodies, the NGOs, indigenous bodies should also be respected and accepted and registered and allowed access as election monitoring units, because those people, I don't want to mention the particular African countries, can be corrupted. Many bodies arrive, they get bribed, and when the election has been rigged, they rather give voice to the oppressors. They give voice to the oppressors, they rubber stamp the election malpractices, and because they were adjudged to have been international, acceptable by the International Committee of Nations, their voices were heard. We should also listen to locals, indigenes, and few people who have something to say during elections.
Okay, Saeed, just hold on. We have Saeed with us online, but 1 second. Senior advocate, I like what it says there. So, what do you think?
I have led an observer mission of lawyers from the SADC countries, as 14 countries that make up the southern part of Africa.
Yes.
To the election, second term Zuma, 2014.
In South Africa?
Yes, I led that observer mission. The rules are clear, and it's the same for any observer mission.
Anywhere in the world?
Yes. National observers or local observers, whichever way you want to describe them. Observer is a key word. You observe, you record, you report. You're not supposed to become a part
interactive.
No, not interactive at all. That's not your role. And whether they're an international mission or not, you're going to be working with local people. So your voice may be more influential because of who you represent, perhaps the United Nations or the EU. In our case, yes, we're extremely influential because it's a group of professionals from 14 countries, led by a Nigerian who was, at the time, quite well known in the international field. We have the Nigerian Bar Association observing. NBA is going to be neutral. NBA is still a respected voice, and the NBA will certainly speak as to what it observes.
At the election?
At the election. There are CSOs we know and respect. They will also be observing. So I am certain, and of course your news channels, NTA channels, and so on. 2019, I was disenfranchised because I transferred and I did not get my PVC. So the way I participated was to join Channels News for the day.
Yes.
And receive information from different parts of Nigeria and whatever was going on. So they're reporting live. And as Bishop rightly said earlier, social media is part of the equation now. So whether the observer nations like it or not, citizen observers are going to be posting what they see, and we'll get a fair picture of what has actually occurred in our country. And one other thing I want to say to us as citizens, the presidential is only one leg of it. You know, that's the 25th. Please prepare to vote again in March.
Yes.
Because the local government elections is as crucial to you as a citizen as this presidential is. That is the level of government
that you can interact with,
that decides how much money goes to your local school, water, hospital, clinics, the road that passes in front of your house. It's that level of government. Federal, the president has nothing to do with it. So it's important you know who's coming for your local government, and you hold them accountable, and you vote for them. So let's just put that on.
Okay, thank you so much, Senior Advocate. Said, 1 second please, sorry about that, from Mile 12. Said says, thank you for this opportunity, especially the Bishop. Our faith is shaking, and we are really confused about the country issues right now. We have been praying and fasting. Still, we keep having bad leaders. What are we not doing right, Bishop? That is Said from Mile 12.
Can I answer you right away?
Right away, Bishop.
Yes, Said, you are correct. We pray as people of faith, as Muslims and Christians and other religions, and then we don't get it right because we did not harmonize our decisions. The Christians preach a tent on one side and vote according to their inclinations and perspective, and the Muslims also sometimes can be drifted to vote according to religion. I want to believe that for the first time in Nigeria, despite our tribes and religion, we can see ourselves as people of common nation and common hope, and do it together, even though I'm a Christian and you're a Muslim, because like I said, there's no special market for Christians, and there's no special market or bank for Muslims. So let's drop those nomenclatures, and together Nigerians join hands and do it right this time around. Said, it will work.
Bishop, brilliant. Thank you very much. I cannot doff my hat, but yes, I doff my hat. Now, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, you are also an officer of the Order of the Niger. Now, so these 23 elections, how do you see it? How do you want to describe it? Do you think it might result in historic crisis, or do you think it's an opportunity for us to actually now redirect our national aspirations?
You know, I said earlier on that everybody alive today was born into Nigeria, because Nigeria was amalgamated in 1914. This is 2023. And in voting, please think Nigeria, not tribe.
Not religion.
Not religion. Don't vote for Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, Kanuri, Funfude, whatever. Vote for a Nigerian. Don't vote according to your religious beliefs, or I'm aligning with my religious whatever. Vote as a Nigerian. Once you put Nigeria first, because whatever happens after Saturday will impact on every Nigerian. Whatever our religion, tribe, it will impact on all of us, positively or negatively. The insecurity, the Nigerians that were kidnapped from a train on a journey between Lagos and Abuja were from all parts of Nigeria. The Nigerians that get kidnapped across the country are Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba. The Nigerians who are queuing up right now for fuel are from all the tribes of Nigeria. The one common denominator is we're all Nigerians in suffering. So let us not be thinking tribe and religion when it comes to voting.
Okay, brilliant, son. But let's, Bishop, quickly, can we round up? My producer is saying to me that we have another program scheduled to run now. So, Bishop, how do you define 2023 election? Is it going to be a crisis indicator or a chance for us to redefine Nigeria?
I see what the 2020 election, I see a new Nigeria, I see a better opportunity for us together, one, to change things for the better. I have positive and hopeful belief for this 2023 election.
Thank you so very much, my distinguished guest, that is Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
And my eminence, thank you so much for stopping in your journey so they can join this conversation. Thank you so much.
My privilege. Thank you so much.
Okay, all right. For all Nigerians, we would like to apologize if you sent in your questions or your queries and we didn't get a chance to share with them. Please go to our social media handles on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter, and let's see if we can rejoin with our distinguished guests and they can then answer some of your queries. Until next time, go and vote just like the sign and the bishop says, because it is about Nigeria and you and not about any leader. Thank you. Until next time.